All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Twitch and Box Sports Talk. It's a week 4 here in the NFL. Of course, coming to you live from the Backstage Pass. Mixing it up a little bit this week. We're missing our producer, Sloosh. Hope everything's going all right with him. I still got, of course, the box. I got Twitch. I got Twitch's son, Finn, here. Trailer Swift's running around here somewhere. She's making us some food. And special guest Junebug, if he wants to weigh in on some stuff going on with the Chiefs this weekend, he might pop in here. I don't know. We'll see what's happening. So what's your take, Big Willie? Where do you want to start us off at tonight?
First of all, appreciate everybody for coming out tonight. Always enjoy these. First thing we're going to roll into is one of our new fan favorite segments, and also my favorite segment. Get some things off my chest is what made me twitch this week. And we're going to start off with the Twitch himself. Twitch, what made you twitch this week?
Well, I think one of the themes of the weekend had to be special teams play or lack thereof. I mean, I was just talking about before we started the podcast, I can think of at least six kicks that were blocked this week, and I don't know if there was any more. But between the Rams, I mean, specifically if you're going to say things that make you twitch, if you're the Rams having 2 kicks blocked and having a chance to a 19-point lead on the Eagles, and the thing we talked about the last couple of weeks is actually the Rams have potentially been or previously have always been known for their offense, but having a good defense, and then I understand the balance that Philadelphia brings, but still to allow them to come back. But going back to the kicks, I said then the Browns blocking a kick with the Packers, and then going down and getting their own field goal. The Bucks almost blowing a 16-point lead and having a touchdown. That was all within like 10 minutes, too, between the Eagles block kick, the Browns blocking a kick, and the Jets running it back. Of course, then Baker did Baker Mayfield things to finish that game. I said, but I know in the Chiefs game there was an extra point blocked. The Seahawks-Saints game was a blocked field goal or blocked punt for a touchdown for the Seahawks, and there was another one too. But for me, just those are kind of things that people kind of take for granted that it can be corrected. But I didn't have a chance to look. I don't know if that's some type of NFL record. I said, but,
feels like it is though.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Special teams play this week, I feel gets like an F+.
An F+.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you?
Thing that made me twitch this week is the Broncos offense in general, mainly Sean Payton calling screens on 3rd and longs again. And we had 9 first downs total in the game. And the fact that we only lost by 3 is astonishing to me. But there was at least 4 instances that we were in 3rd and 10 or longer, and we came up with some kind of running back screen or some kind of quick tunnel screen to a wide receiver, which is all fine and dandy if it was 3rd and short or 2nd and long. But I don't know why we're throwing screens when we need to be moving the ball down the field again. I mean, one of our first touchdown was a Cortland Sutton deep post route that was wide open. Why don't we try that the whole game instead of dumping it off to R.J. Harvey on a tunnel screen or J.K. Dobbins in a little just basic Madden screen that you run in Madden when you first start playing. There's all kinds of other play calls, and I mean, obviously, it made me twitch a little bit more because it was my team, and I didn't get to watch the game because it wasn't on in our area. Mm-hmm. But I went back and watched the highlights again, and that's one of the things that made me twitch. I was like, wow, I can't believe we only lost by 3 with this kind of play calling here, guys. Mm-hmm. But LSV, you got any things that made you twitch this week from NFL play?
Nothing really that made me twitch. I was glad to see the Chiefs come out on top. I mean, like you guys said last week, this is a get-right game for the Chiefs. You have to go out there and play the Giants. There's a lot of takes that I have from that. I think that there's no sense in panicking. I mean, we got a tough schedule coming out over the next 4 or 5 weeks. So I feel pretty good about where we're at. I only got to watch a couple other games just because I've had busy workload this week. But I don't know. This is why we're here. We're here to dissect what's going on in the NFL, and that's why I got you guys here at the Backstage Pass to better educate me on things that make you twitch.
But, I do want to say one stat real quick, just to show you how competitive it was. This kind of goes along with the theme and the parity we talk about in today's NFL. But after the common theme being the first 2 weeks close games, Sunday set a record since 1970, since the merger. That 7-game Sunday ended with a game-winning score in the final 3 minutes. So that just goes to show. So very easily, our pick'ems could have been a lot different this week.
Very much so.
Well, that's not what this segment is supposed to be about, but I would say that did get that interesting Twitch and Box group chat from Big Willie that says Detroit's 10-1 for a record under a waxing crescent.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're saying that, but that made me laugh. It's just extra things to talk about every week.
I enjoy that. There's NFL fans out there that will go and look at the moon phases when their team is playing to predict if they're going to win or not. I enjoy there's people that look at that. I would never would. I wouldn't even think of that. But the fact that I saw it, I was like, okay, well, it checks out. But let's roll into our next topic here. We're going to go offensive and defensive player of the weeks here. I'm going to start off here. My offensive player of the week was Jake Ferguson, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Had 13 catches on 14 targets for 82 yards. Didn't get in the zone, but in a lackluster day of offense without CeeDee Lamb on that Cowboys offense across the board with a high ankle sprain. Jake Ferguson was kind of a bright spot. He caught everything thrown his way basically. And the one that he didn't catch was a really bad pass by Dak that sailed over his head that he couldn't even went up and high pointed. But that's a bright spot for him, and so I see him getting a bigger load with CeeDee Lamb being out in that Cowboys offense, and maybe Pickens taking a step up into that wide receiver one role, kind of like he had last year with Pittsburgh.
Sure, that's a good take. My offensive player of the week goes to Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. Ended the game with a 41-20 win over the Titans. I know they're rebuilding, but Jonathan Taylor finished with 102 rushing yards and 75 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 1 through the air. So ended up with 177 total offensive yards, total yards, as well as 3 touchdowns. So that's my offensive player of the week.
He showed up on my fantasy football team this week. That's for sure. The Broncos defense did not.
Yep. Yep. I'd like to roll into our defensive picks here. I'd like to shout out the Detroit offense in total with having 7 total sacks on Lamar Jackson, which is a really hard quarterback to get a sack on, but having 7 in a game is outrageous. But the single player that I'd like to call out here is my comeback player of the year, or one of our comeback player of the year, is Aiden Hutchinson. He had only 2 solo tackles, but he had a sack. He had a tackle for loss. He had 1 QB hit, and I can't tell you how many times that he made Lamar run into another sack someplace else. Like we talked about week 1, I think we said it's going to take him a while to get back and trust that broken leg, or his leg that was broke again. But it seems like last night it seemed like he was all the way back, just ripping. And it shows that him only having 2 tackles shows that they're running away from him, or they're double teaming him every play, or they're chipping him every play. So I think Hutch is back, and last night's game, if you didn't get to watch it, I'd go back and watch the highlights. It was one of the best primetime games that I've watched in a while.
Yeah, he was in beast mode for sure.
Also a good take. I want to put my boy TJ in there after we just talked about last week it being 6+ games. So he had 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery. But it's hard not to go against Isaiah Rodgers, defensive back for the Vikings. Put all this up in the first half, mind you. Had 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, an interception, and 2 touchdowns for the Vikings defense, and a shellacking of the Vikings over the Bengals. So that was my. It's hard not to pick against that.
Yeah,
it's a monster game.
He's the first ever 99.9 over a Pro Football Focus graded guy, and it's crazy to get a 99.9. But when you have 2 defensive touchdowns, the fumbles, like interception, had a hell of a game.
I'm just going to throw that out there because you didn't ask Finn, Twitch's son, what makes you twitch. I'm sure that's what makes Twin Fish as a Bengals fan. So, one good game for those Bengals fans.
Right.
It's okay.
I do want to shout out as far as you mentioned the team. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I would say for the Browns. The Browns also, I don't know how many sacks they finished up with, 6 or 7 on Jordan Love, and Green Bay looking like one of the most complete teams. And then you take away 1/2 against Baltimore, their second game. We're talking about Cleveland still. Yeah. You take it back, and they said when Joe Burrow still played week 1, they held. They had opportunities. They made about 4 or 5 mistakes late. Otherwise, they probably win that game. Hold the Joe Burrow under 17 points, and then last week holding the Packers to 10 points. I want to give a shout out to the Browns defense.
Yeah, a lot of good defensive play in general across the board. I'm going to read off here some injuries from this last week. And some big names here, some interesting injuries also, in my opinion. But James Conner, running back for the Cardinals, is out for the year with a foot ankle injury. CeeDee Lamb is out for at least 2 weeks with an ankle injury. Nick Bosa tears his ACL, out for the season again. And Najee Harris, which was supposed to be an Achilles, or everybody assumed an Achilles, came back tested. It wasn't Achilles, so they're doing further testing to figure out if he's out for the year or not. There's clearly something going on with the back of his leg, but it came back, reported that it's not officially an Achilles. Mike Evans with a hamstring again, like last year. I mean, get up there in age. I feel like a hamstring is one of those things that haunts those kind of guys. Sauce Gardner out with a concussion. Lane Johnson is out with a neck kind of injury. He's also old as shit, so who really knows? And then Scary Terry out with a quad, which a lot of Commanders fans I saw were not very happy with it because he sat out for the preseason and he got all that big money, and now he's going to be out for at least a game, or he's at least questionable for this week. But a lot of injuries, a lot of big name guys on the injury report out there. There's always everybody gets dinged up throughout the year, but we're already losing like RB1s on here, a really good defensive end, concussion for a top 10 cornerback in the league. Like CeeDee Lamb being out for the Cowboys is detrimental across the board because he is their offense. I think he got targeted 14 times in that first game that they played. So, but yeah, those are just some injuries we had this week in week 3 of the NFL already. So.
Yeah, I think none bigger than the Bosa injury to me. It's just because San Francisco was my sleeper NFC West, making it a run in the playoffs, and so he is the heart and soul of that defense. Definitely made some plays at the end of the game, him and Warner. So yeah, and then the other one being for me this the CeeDee Lamb. Were just last week, it seemed like Dallas when they came back against New York, that was one bright spot was it seemed like they were starting to figure it out how to get Pickens and see their catches together. So with them still struggling with the running game, so that's a huge loss in my mind for Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's who knows with an ankle, it could always come back to haunt him later in the season. So hope CD gets better. Unless I'm playing him in fantasy, then you can sit that week out. It's fine. Yeah. But
I think the Scary Terry one's a big one for the Commanders, except for they're expecting it's a week to week thing instead, but with some people coming back, like Godwin, and then they've got of course Deebo Samuel still, and then still have Ertz, and the way they had a complete win last week against the Raiders, took care of business at home, and with a favorable schedule, I think Washington will be fine. But that's definitely an injury to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go into a little bit of Week 3 MVP talk, if you'd like to say it that way, which is way too early to predict who the MVP is. But let's talk about Indiana Jones, Daniel Jones / Danny Dimes, and the Colts run. Colts are 3-0. They punted this week. First, that's big. That's big time for them.
Yeah, in a couple weeks.
Yeah, first time. But Daniel Jones came out and balled out. Anyways, Danny Dimes / Indiana Jones has had a great year so far. 816 total yards, 71.6 completion rating, which is elite in NFL circles. He's had 3 touchdowns, which isn't the best. He's only taken 2 sacks behind that offensive line that was built to, well, not really anymore, but in theory was built to protect Andrew Luck forever. And it helps that Jonathan Taylor is 338 yards rushing so far. So Jonathan Taylor is looking back to where he was before the holdout negotiation thing. But the Colts look legit. Their defense is flying around making plays. They have, they beat the Broncos the way they did. They beat the crap out of the Titans, so to say. But the Titans, they beat the Dolphins week 1 handily. They're the hottest team looking right now. Shout out their owner, Carly Ursay, or one of the Jim Irsay's daughter, who's on the sideline with the headset on, listening to plays, seeing if Shane Steichen's the guy. And I don't know if they're really doing anything, but shout out her for at least trying to be involved in the team.
Yeah, so if any Colts fans want to jump on this podcast,
we'd love to hear your Colts takes.
Yeah, come out here. I got one in mind. So,
all right,
what's your thoughts?
What you got on the Colts?
Yeah, it's hard. It's obviously we're only 3 weeks into the season, but there's easily not 4 or 5 players, at least especially quarterbacks, that are playing better than Daniel Jones. So you're getting to see what now, obviously last year with the injuries and Saquon Barkley going to Philadelphia, he struggled his last year in New York. But so now you can see with a good run game and a good defense, what he can do. And like you said, all 3 games, I know that the Dolphins have kind of struggled up until last week against the Bills. I know that the Titans are rebuilding. but that's all you can do is play the people that are in front of you. And I saw a statistic on Daniel Jones. I don't know how much. It's kind of one of those, another one of those like asinine stats. But first quarterback through the first 3 weeks to have 3 passing and 3 rushing touchdowns himself. I said, but he's not turning the ball over. Like Indianapolis, I think is going to be a team is going to be there in the playoff push for sure. They look very balanced, and Daniel Jones is looking confident. And yeah, I would have him as a top 5 early MVP candidate. Yeah, definitely making us look good. I'll shout out for one of the comeback players of the year. I think he's the early front runner for that as well.
Yeah, he's looked really good. And also remember that the AFC South hadn't had back-to-back winners since 2000, since last year when the Texans went back-to-back. So I think that storyline might carry on this year with Oddball and the Texans winning back-to-back years, because the culture looking good. The Texans are 0-3.
Yeah.
So the rest of that division's not looking too hot.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's looking all right. I mean,
yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is kind of figuring it out. But let's roll into a game that had a lot of eyes on it. Obviously, a divisional round rematch from last year. But Rams in Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets the win 33-26 off a block kick from a defensive lineman, Georgia defensive lineman, believe it or not, since Philadelphia is the new Georgia, everybody says, minus the car racing.
Yeah.
But a really good game across the board. I thought the Rams played good. That Rams defense, like you already talked about, Twitch, they're way better than I think I gave them credit for. I knew they were young. I knew they were improved, but the way they came out, they made Philadelphia run the ball, which is something, or made Philadelphia throw the ball, which is something they haven't done all year so far. But Philadelphia having 109 yards and 1 touchdown to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith getting 60 for a tutty, and then getting Dallas Goedert involved for 1 catch, a big play, 33 yards and 1 touchdown, and really shutting down that run offense for only 86 rushing yards, which that really seems to be something they hang their hat on, with Jalen Hurts getting a rushing touchdown still, but then holding Saquon Barkley to 46 yards is huge for that. But the Rams are improved. The Rams lose it in a heartbreaking way, but across the board was really, really impressed with the Rams in general, even though they lost this game to Philadelphia, who's been one of the hottest teams, because now they proved that. I remember I texted you guys at halftime in that game and said, hey, Philadelphia forgot how to throw the ball down the field. And then they came out in the second half and made me look like a dumbass. But it was really good. I mean, a lucky win, I guess you could say, for the Eagles. And then the Rams are a team to be on the lookout for in the NFC playoff picture again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 2 different stories from this game. I said for the Rams, people kind of forget last year with Stafford being hurt, and then at the end of the year, the Rams coming on. And there was a really close playoff game last year when the Rams were the ones that played Philadelphia the closest last year on their run to the Super Bowl. And then they score early, they have the momentum. Their defense is getting stops. Like you said, we've talked about their defense the last couple of weeks. And then they get a touchdown in the first 2 minutes after halftime, so then they're up 26-7. And then after that, it was all Philadelphia pretty much. I mean, they went on the 26-0 run, I said. So, I don't know. Maybe that could have been something that made me twitch. I said, but for the Rams, as good as their defense is, I don't know how the last 2 drives you don't really game plan for A.J. Brown. Just kind of took over the game, but that's what big players do. And also shout out to people, because it seemed to, up until that second half last week, Philadelphia, even though playing a solid game against Kansas City and not making mistakes, they really hadn't found their groove. So kudos to Jalen Hurts for putting the team on his back and like I said, they scored 2 quick touchdowns. Next thing you knew, it was 26-21, and then that last game-winning drive. So kudos to Philadelphia. So that could be a potential rematch in January. For the Rams, what a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
I thought that one and the Detroit-Baltimore game was probably the 2 best games of the week. Stafford, or not just Stafford, but the biggest thing for me that game was also obviously the Rams getting 2 kicks blocked, and that's what brought them things that make me twitch. It's just there's 6 points right there, and they had Philadelphia on the ropes, up 19, and again, kudos to Philadelphia and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for making the plays at the end, and Jalen Hurts. That's another thing with Philadelphia. I still don't feel like they've even played their best game. We'll talk about that. The big game this week for them. That's one of my ones I'm most looking forward to this week. I said, but Philadelphia 3-0. Rams, I think, will be just fine. They can build from this.
Oh, yeah.
Also, nice to see over the last 2 weeks Devontae Adams being more incorporated into the offense. So they figured that out.
He's still got a little juice in him, man.
Absolutely. So great game. I wanted to see the Rams win, just to pull off the upset. But yeah.
We're going to roll into our question of the week here. Question of the week here for everybody here is if you could pick any player from your team in the past, has to be a player from your team. So like Twitch will take the Steelers, LSV will take the Chiefs, I'll take the Broncos. Pick one player from the past team, your past team that would help this team, like you want on your team as of right now. So I'll lead off here. I'm taking Shannon Sharpe as a tight end. Last night we had a discussion about it. I thought Von Miller, because Von Miller was a great defensive rusher, but we have good pass rush guys. Jonathan Cooper's better than I give him credit for. I just hate on him because he's not Nick Nobini and he doesn't always get there. But Shannon Sharpe as a tight end is an outlet. Ingram has been, it's only 3 weeks through, so obviously overreaction. But Ingram has been anything less than impressive at the tight end spot. And having Shannon Sharpe, who you can line up like an outside wide receiver, or you can have him inside and run quick check down routes, I feel like would help Bo Nix out a lot. Obviously, I could have went Elway here, could have went Peyton, but I believe in Bo Nix to get the job done in the quarterback position. But I have a shirt that says it. I'll wear it next time.
I think so.
LSV, who do you have to help out this Chiefs with offense?
I was going to ask Junebug, man, do you have any thoughts on this? He's like, no. I want as a Chiefs fan, when you look at where our team's at right now and where your key components would be that you would want to add a piece in there, obviously, the arguably best quarterback of all time. Same thing with the tight end position. We get some guys on the defense that are just absolutely holding us together. So I have to go back to special teams. And this is crazy, but, man, if I could bring one guy back that would change things around, I go to the joystick, man. I go to Dante Hall. Let that guy get us into a better field position, give us an opportunity to change things up. That would be my guy. I don't know. I thought about a couple other players, but nope. It'd be special teams.
Especially with the new
Dante Hall, get us in a better field position, give us an opportunity to put some points on the board.
Especially with the new kickoff setup where they can't move until the ball is caught. Like, this is dangerous. He could set up blocks.
I hate that rule. I don't realize why it's there for player safety.
Yeah, safety and all that stuff.
But give me the joystick and let him get us up there into a different position. That's mine.
See, I'm going to piggyback off your Chiefs one. So I'm surprised you don't go like Priest Holmes or Jamal Charles with the run game now. So and the tough yards. I'm going to throw you on the bus, June. But he had an awesome take. Like, come on, throw out who would you as a Chiefs fan?
Probably Derek Thomas.
Yeah. With that, we talked about that the last couple of weeks. Just the inconsistent pass rush of the Chiefs. So somebody like that, I think that's an awesome take.
Yep.
So both of them. Being a Steelers fan, there's a lot of directions with the storied history of the Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
So, I thought about going one of my all-time favorites with Big Ben and his leadership and his toughness and today's rules, or Polamalu, and we really our secondary's kind of been off and on. But I'm gonna go with the man that changed the whole franchise. I'm gonna go with Mean Joe Green. You're the closest thing. There's times.
It's a great take.
Yeah. Well, just for the fact of he was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald. And we have had a real issue with the interior of our line and stopping the run consistently. I guarantee those things would be stopped with Mean Joe. Not to mention he's the one that kind of created that technique where you're kind of lined up to the side and would easily take away two defenders.
Yeah.
So with Pittsburgh's specialty going back from the 70s to the 90s to the 2000s, guys like James Harrison, Joey Porter, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, they're known for being a linebacker team and having that pass rush of T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig, and you had Mean Joe right there in the middle. I'm gonna go Mean Joe there. I think for what we need right now.
Yeah.
one of the all-time, if not the all-time greatest Steeler. I love Jack Lambert and like Dracula and cleats, no teeth. Like one of the best all-time middle linebackers and the toughness that he would bring. And they said, and then Big Ben, a lot more. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. You hear the names like Rodgers and Breeze, and rightfully so. I said, but I think Ben's right up there. But that being said, that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like yours was definitely the hardest to pick from because there's so many great players that have played for the Steelers, like Hall of Fame caliber guys, and obviously, like you've talked about, like there's struggles on both sides of the ball. So it's what struggle do you want to show up right now?
Right.
Well, I just want to point out that Chris, a.k.a. Twitch, is wearing a Cordell Stewart jersey tonight. So
slash.
That's probably not that guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, shout out to Cordell Stewart.
I appreciate that.
Probably working at Nebraska Furniture Mart.
We're gonna
Top salesman.
we're gonna recap some good games this week. We're gonna break down the Ravens Lions, the Vikings and Bengals, which wasn't a very good game, but a surprising blowout game in general. Finn's not very excited about that one. Yeah. Jets Bucks, Baker Mayfield does it again, and Panthers Falcons. Do the Falcons suck? Does Michael Penix a bust? We'll get back to that after this quick break. Rolling into our game recaps here. We're going to recap first is Carolina and Atlanta. Atlanta at Carolina. Carolina wins 30-0, despite having 100 yards less than the Falcons on offense, which is an outrageous stat. And so they had 17 first downs. They ran 66 total plays, 332 yards, had 11 drives, 201 passing yards, threw a pick six in there. But Carolina has 15 first downs, 55 total plays, and only 224 total yards on 9 drives. So I think this brings up the question, which we talked about a little bit before. Michael Penix stat line before we get into it here. 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, 72 yards, no touchdowns. Drake London goes 5 for 55. Kyle Pitts goes 4 for 39. So they outgained the Panthers across the board, but the Panthers were able to get in field goal range more than the Falcons in general. Bryce Young, 121 yards passing. Gets a rushing touchdown, though, which hadn't really seen that from him. Rico
Suave?
No, Duado gets 10 carries in a rushing touchdown there. I mean, Carolina's offense is still not good, but 30-0 and somebody is crazy. So I think this brings up the question I'd like to get everybody's take on, but is Michael Penix a bust, and is Kirk Cousins being the backup probably one of the best hedge bets that the Falcons could have made across the board?
Yeah, I mean, this was one of those games where I was surprised because I feel like each week Bryce Young's played better and better. He only had 121 passing yards. But really, shout out to Carolina's defense. I mean, because Atlanta had done, and Bijan Robinson's on that short list as far as like offensive playmakers, a guy that had, 16, 17 touchdowns and about 1,700 total yards last year from scrimmage. So they did a good job shutting him down. But, I mean, I liked Penix coming out of Washington, but I didn't think it'd translate to the pro game. And I think, with him throwing that pick six, I think it was Atlanta's first drive, the second drive of the second half, 17-0. Then they go for it again, get stopped on downs, give Carolina a short field. Next thing you know, we're about 5 minutes into the third quarter, and it's 20-0. And from there, Atlanta's offense isn't obviously built to come from behind like that. So, and with any team, you get down like that, that allows the defense to really pin their ears back. And so, I'll be interested to see if he struggles like that again. And that's just the thing. That was kind of one of the other themes of the week to me was, we talked about other teams finding identity. That's part of the first couple games of the season. So you kind of get to know some teams. You're going to have hot weeks. You're going to have off weeks. But to completely lay an egg, I know it's a divisional game. Like I said, Bryce Young's played better. But to get beat 30-0 to a Carolina Panthers team, I was just shocked. And
that's crazy, yeah.
So with that being said, and you have somebody that's a proven winner, say what you will about his time in Minnesota and Washington, but the guy can run an offense, is first of all, I do not like it. For those who haven't watched the series Quarterback on Netflix, it's hard not to root or like Kirk Cousins. But more than that, they might have been overpaid in Minnesota and bring him to Atlanta, especially for a backup. But a proven guy, if he struggles again, I wouldn't be surprised at some point. And it's too early for that because Penix is obviously this is his first year starting. And so I think they'll ride it out for a couple weeks. But if he continues to struggle, I think you definitely see that switch to Kirk Cousins and probably one of, if not the best backup quarterback in the NFL. But kudos for Bryce Young for a couple close losses the last couple weeks, or the first couple weeks. Had chances in both games, and then coming back this week and not turning the ball over and helping Carolina to a win.
Yeah, it was a crazy score. I did not expect that one at all. I felt like I said last week that game could go either way, but the fact that it went the way it did, 30-0, I was like, okay, well, I was very wrong on that take. Let's roll into another blowout game here that did not see coming. We'll get our resident Bengals fan here with a take on this one. But Minnesota Vikings beat the Bengals 48-10, and this game never felt close one time in the whole game. Maybe after the first touchdown, maybe they're like, oh, we have a chance. But besides that, Jake Browning goes 140 yards for 19 completions, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs, takes 3 sacks for 20 yards, which we talked about was going to be a problem with the Bengals with Joe Burrow, so that shows how much they hurt. And only having 53 total rushing yards does not help your backup quarterback at all, any way, shape, or form. But let's roll over to the good side here. Carson Wentz, who was once an MVP candidate. Can't let anybody forget that. I keep seeing Eagles Twitter and Vikings Twitter come out and just say that over and over and over again. Glad they're pounding that drum why he looks good for now. But Carson Wentz, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, with 169 total yards, or 169 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for Jordan Mason there. Jay Jettis, 5 for 75, and then T. Hawk getting a touchdown in there with 49, almost 50 yards. But talk about just a complete and total ass whooping, you could say, across the board. Was not a good game in general. I mean, it was a tough watch. It shows the weakness of the Bengals offensive line. It shows the strength of the Vikings and who they have still, that they can plug and play Carson Wentz, who's a decent backup quarterback. Plug and play him for in there. But Twitch, what do you got to say about this one before we get to our Bengals expert here?
Well, I said for the Vikings, you said Carson Wentz being a former MVP candidate. I said I think he's along the same molds of like a Jared Goff. He may not have the same arm strength. He may not always be flashy, but he knows how to get the ball to his playmakers. Wins more often than not, and I think this could be something. It'll be interesting because of how McCarthy played the first week in the second half, granted against Chicago, and eventually he'll get his time. But if McCarthy's out, it's good for if you're a Vikings fan, at least over the next month, that this is a Vikings team that won 12 games last year. Very balanced. They have a good defense that obviously showed up on Sunday, and we'll get to that I'll get to that in just a second about the Bengals. But that Carson Wentz looks like somebody that if he plays like that, doesn't turn the ball over, they've got enough weapons and their defense being good enough. And like Minnesota is also a very tough place to play. So for Minnesota, that was my thing. I took away from Minnesota was their defensive effort, and for Cincinnati. Sorry, buddy. There's not a whole lot to say. We were looking at last week that really doubtful whether Browning could keep him competitive into December, but still had a game-winning drive the week before against a decent Jacksonville team, a 4-3 starter coming in. Expected it to be close, and they said with the 2 returns for touchdowns, it got ugly really fast. So Cincinnati, I mean. That's just the thing with Browning is that, with guys like Burrow and Mahomes and stuff, you can kind of get away with a little bit of a bad offensive or a mediocre offensive line when you got somebody that's making those pre-snap reads and can get rid of the ball quick. I said, but obviously Burrow got hit plenty even while he was back there. So somebody like Browning, you can have Higgins and Chase that are 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL, but if you don't have time to throw to them, and I'm actually a believer in Chase, the running back for the Bengals, very athletic. I said, but he's just getting hit every play. It seems like every play behind the line of scrimmage. So that doesn't help any quarterback, let alone a backup quarterback. So I think that was a combination between the two, between a bad offensive line and a good Vikings defense. But it'll be interesting to see in the coming weeks what Cincinnati, if they decide to pull the trigger on trying to pick up a free agent. Again, I don't know who else you could try to go out and get. But for Minnesota, I think the formula and with the offensive mind that Kevin O'Connell has, just have that balanced attack for Minnesota, and that just like, hey, just don't lose us the game, could serve as whether Wentz is the guy in late October, November, or McCarthy comes back in and provides that little bit of offensive spark. I think Minnesota found out last week what maybe the formula should be for them continuing off of last year, and so
Finn, what do you have to say about your Bengals performance this last week, sir?
Wasn't too happy.
I miss Joe Burrow.
So both the quarterbacks were back up decent, and not too good of offensive line for the Bengals, and with the decent players on Vikings isn't too good.
It wasn't too good.
Yeah.
That's all right, buddy. There's 18 weeks, 17 games, man.
Yep.
So.
You'll figure it out, maybe.
And I tried to warn you from birth. That's what comes with being a Bengals fan. Love you,
Yeah.
love you, buddy.
Let's roll into a very Baker Mayfield type game here because it was Baker Mayfield. But Jets and Tampa. Tampa jumps out to a 26 lead at halftime. Jets come back in the fourth quarter, scored 2 touchdowns with 3:40 left to go up and be up 27-26. Then Baker Mayfield takes him on a 7-play, 48-yard drive, get him in field goal range to win the game 29-27. Tyrod Taylor being the backup quarterback in there, which is even more impressive for the Jets to come back in the fourth quarter like that. He's a guy that's been there, done that. He started in Buffalo in the past. He was supposed to start for the Jets, obviously. He's supposed to start for the Chargers, and then his lung got punctured, and so Jay Herbert took over against the Chiefs. But Tyrod Taylor had a decent game, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns with 1 pick. But another run game not helping out the backup quarterback with him rushing for 48 yards. You can't have, we've talked about it before, unless that's your design like rookie Lamar Jackson, you can't have your running back leading or your quarterback leading the team in rushing yards and expect to be successful. But Baker Mayfield, one passing touchdown, 122 rushing yards in total. I mean, not Baker's best statistical game, but no turnovers, which is good for him. He usually seems to throw a pick or 2 in there. But Baker Mayfield just coming in clutch again and saying, all right, well, I'll put the team on my back, I guess, and we're going to go down and win this. I mean, the kicker obviously won them the game, but Baker Mayfield having that, we're not giving up even if we gave the comeback up. But taking that time off the clock and winning like that, the Buccaneers are a team to be. We talked about it this in the past, but the Bucs, no matter how down they are, how up they are, they always seem like to figure out a way to stick it out till the end, especially with that quarterback who has a little bit of that edge in him.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then going off of last week, I mean, we're talking about, I don't have it right in front of me, so ill-prepared, but I think the Bucs have now won, 9-10 or something like that. Baker Mayfield still leads, since he's been there in 2023, leads the NFL in fourth quarter touchdowns and in comebacks, total touchdowns or passing touchdowns. 3 weeks for the Bucs, 3 wins, 3 comeback, 3 drives by Baker. So again, that's another one, obviously, that's talking around the NFL's short list of early season MVP candidates has been Baker Mayfield. But and we talked about a little bit earlier about the injury to Mike Evans. I don't worry about that one. I said Godwin with Washington, but I meant, I guess I got sidetracked.
Yeah.
But with Godwin coming back, that's a week-to-week thing on top of with Amuka, the rookie, just showing out and making 2 big catches on the last drive. Obviously some chemistry with the Bucs. And then we'll see this week. They got the Eagles coming to town. They said, but the last team to thump the Eagles was the Bucs. So, and that very well could have gone the other way. I mean, the Bucs are up 23-7. They get down to 26-20, and getting ready for a field goal with less than 5 minutes, or less than 4 minutes. That's part of that stat. And then they get a kick block. It would have been easy to just we just allowed the Jets to come back on us. But Baker stayed calm, looked poised like he has all year. Nice game-winning drive. And then if you're a Jets fan, there's definitely some pluses that they kept fighting to the end. He said, again, it doesn't help that they didn't really have a running game going. Yeah. But I felt like for the most part they were getting pressure on Baker, especially the first half. We're talking about a Bucs team and, of course, the Steelers the first round. Of course, that was Justin Fields. But they've been in some games. I don't really have much else to say about the Jets. I mean, so they've been competitive. They haven't found their first win. Another side thing is if you get a chance to go look at their coach, celebrating
Yeah,
the return for
the
touchdown
touchdown.
to the Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
So that was pretty great.
Yeah. It was a good time on the internet right there.
Right. I said, but like, I'm definitely like, with the Jets, I like some of the things they're doing on defense, but on offense, I know it's not their main starter, but they've got to get a run game starting, and they got to get somebody besides Garrett Wilson going. And for the Bucks, again, Baker Mayfield, early MVP candidate, now 24 fourth quarter or overtime scoring drives by Baker Mayfield. Like I said, 3 straight weeks with the game on the line, no doubt. So,
Yeah. Rolling into the last game, we're going to recap here. My favorite game to watch Monday night, was Detroit at Baltimore. Detroit gets the win 38-30 against Baltimore. That takes them to 2-1. Baltimore is 1-2. Jared Goff goes for 202 and 1 touchdown. And a big thing that we hit on last week is they need to get the running backs going, and they really did last night with David Montgomery for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Jahmyr Gibbs on the other side getting 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra, 7 for 77 and a touchdown. Jameson Williams, 2 for 43. Laporta got involved a little bit. And we talked about Hutch had a great game.
mm-hmm.
But this game was a really good back-and-forth game. Lamar had 288 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry got held to 50 rushing yards, Lamar to 35, so it's 85 in total, which is the goal, I think, when you play the Ravens, is make them pass the ball, which Lamar did show he could pass the ball for 288 and 3 touchdowns, but he still got the win out of there. Mark Andrews kind of catching his stride back, you could say, for 91 yards and 2 tutties, and Rashad Bateman getting 63 yards and 1 tutty. But I think if I had to pick one sole reason that Baltimore lost is because Detroit locked down Zay Flowers, who was wide receiver 1 for the Ravens there. They took him away. He only had 2 catches for 13 yards. So, I mean, it's great taking down a speedster wide receiver who's shifty. We saw him last week catch 2 really good catches, 1 for a touchdown. And Detroit looks like they're getting back to their Ben Johnson type plays. I don't know what kind of, but like trick plays. Like they had threw a couple
4th and 1.
Yeah, 4th and 1. They threw I don't know what to call it. But they threw I always forget the name of the play. The running back runs the ball, he turns around, throws it back to the quarterback. Jared Goff caught it, threw a deep ball on it. Flea flicker.
Yeah.
I always forget that one, but great flea flicker play.
It was a great play.
Like a couple trick plays out of them. Like they're trying to get back. Their running backs being back, I think, is going to be their biggest. If they can keep these guys healthy down the stretch, I think they're going to be a really hard team to beat because they have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's a good pass-catching back, but also can split you and cut back. And they have Montgomery, who'll just run through your face for a touchdown like he did last night against the Ravens. So Detroit looks like they're back. I've said this before, like kind of a blowout win last week, and then get back with 38-30, beat a really good, going to be an AFC playoff team, I guess, but Ravens. So it was a really great game to watch across the board, back and forth, good defensive showdown. But
Absolutely.
Detroit get the win.
Yeah, absolutely a great game.
Yeah, to me, that was the most entertaining game of the week as well. Being a Steelers fan, I don't ever mind. Even though I picked against the Lions, I was happy to see them win. Like you said, they just kind of picked up from where they left off last year. One of the things that I love about their head coach is just the fact of, in recent years, going to places like San Francisco or Kansas City, like you got Baltimore on the road 1-1 in Baltimore on a Monday Night Football, and right before, I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was halfway through the second quarter or close to halftime, they go on their first 98-yard drive, 18 plays, and then later in the game going on and just predominantly running the football right down the Ravens' throat. I mean, they were a blue-collar, tough, always a tough team, and Detroit didn't shy away from it, that grit. And then coming back with another 95-yard drive later. To me, the biggest part of the game, besides Henry's fumble and some of the other plays, were the 2 4th-down plays. One being Detroit decided to extend their lead, and like you said, that 4th-down play where they pitched to the wide receiver, and then he pitched it automatically to Gibbs and just right to the outside on 4th and 1. Just what Detroit's been known for. They've and I feel like he's been, like, Campbell's kind of set that precedent now. You see it across the NFL now. Go look at the statistics of people going for it, the 40-yard line, midfield. And then on top of that, the other big play to me was the Baltimore having 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line twice, and then stopping Henry and then getting the stuff. On top of the 7 sacks, and Aiden Hutchinson looking like he did before he got hurt last year. So kudos to the Lions. I said they're figuring it out. And the other thing that's scary about that, like you said, they have a two-headed monster, obviously. And St. Brown got his touchdown. Laporta had some nice catches in the second and third quarter, middle of the game, throwing the middle of the field. But I didn't ever feel like yesterday, like if they would have had to, like they didn't really, they didn't have to throw the ball that much. They weren't getting Williams involved. Even St. Brown was kind of limited because they were having success running and grinding out the win. So I said that's just one of the things, they can beat you multiple ways if they're not that balanced. So I said it's really going to be interesting. Like I wanted to see and was rooting for Detroit to kind of pick up where they left off, and was hoping that was just a tough Packers team, and that happens sometimes. And through the last 2 weeks, like I said, now Detroit, again, like playing Chicago last week and putting up 52 and then coming up and winning on the road in Baltimore, that's never an easy place to win. So awesome job by the Lions. On the flip side of that, if you're a Ravens fan, you look at it and you're like, okay, we're really only a game out of first place, but very easily it could be 3-0. I mean, they had Buffalo on the ropes. They said they had chances yesterday against Detroit. A statistic is that people were kind of all over Derrick Henry, future Hall of Fame Derrick Henry, but people were kind of like, talking about the fact that 3 big fumbles in 3 games, even though last week was a blowout. Yeah. But Derrick Henry had 3 fumbles on 652 touches in 23 and 24. He has 3 fumbles on just 43 touches this season already. Yeah. So I think that's something that they rectify and they figure out. Obviously, got to figure out a way to get Zay Flowers involved. But again, kudos. I think that was obviously game plan to take him out. And I mean, I think Lamar has shown that he can beat you in the passing game more than what he did in his early career. But still, the blueprint being to beat Jackson is like, well, okay, we're going to take your number 1 wide receiver and make you beat us with your legs or the run game. So it's even more impressive the fact that they were able to shut out Flowers and then still
hold him under 100 rushing yards.
I know you said 50-some rushing yards. So I think the Ravens will be fine. I said, but to just allow that's just not heard of for Baltimore to give up 200 rushing yards. And I said they definitely had some opportunities at the end. I think they'll figure it out. Like you also mentioned, Mark Andrews in the passing game becoming more involved. I know DeAndre Hopkins is like towards the latter half, and I wouldn't say the end of his career. He's still got something left in the tank, but really haven't seen a lot of him other than week 1. So I think those are the things for Baltimore to focus on. I know that Baltimore was missing 2 of their Pro Bowl defensive players, like in Kyle Van Noy. It's a huge heart and soul of that defense, or one of them. Roquan Smith's the heart of the defense.
Yeah,
but Van Noy is obviously a Pro Bowler in his own right. So again, I expect Derrick Henry to come out in the next few weeks and just be pissed off. So anyway, good win for the Lions. Like I said, that was my favorite game of the week. Never a bad week when you see the Ravens lose. And again, for the Lions, like they've gone to San Francisco. They've gone into some of these places. They've gone to Kansas City after a Super Bowl win to start off the season a couple of years ago. Like, that just goes to show we're here to mix. And like I said, how they won last night, that they're not afraid to go 15 rounds with anybody. And I think that comes from their head coach.
Yeah.
And the consistency of Jared Goff. I mean, they obviously have weapons. They have balance. I said, but I think those are the main reasons, like, that set the tone.
I always enjoy the South Park meme with the guy with the balls in the wheelbarrow, and it's always Dan Campbell standing there with it. It's always enjoyable because, like you talked about, Dan Campbell going for it on 4th down, just letting that shit hang and just saying, we're going to beat you.
Buffaloes.
Yeah. But, those are our games we recapped for the week. A short shout-out, don't really have to break it down here, is the Joe Flacco leading the Browns to an upset win in the last 3 minutes of the game over the Green Bay Packers. Tough loss for the Packers. I mean, the Browns will get you sometimes, man. It seems like they've done that even when they were really, really, really shitty. Not the 0-16 year, obviously. Yeah. But it seems like they win a couple games, you're like, what the fuck was that? So, yeah.
Well, and Flacco's one of those guys who was like I want to root against him because a former Raven and a Brown. I said, but it's hard not to root for him. I said, on the way 2 years ago they made the playoffs when he literally came off the couch.
Yeah.
And still that veteran guy, everyone just kind of forgets about him, but he can still play at above average, or at least average level, knows how to make those plays. Or you saw that last drive, that comfort level, like that poise that he brings. Man. Right. And here's a statistic for you as far as Cleveland leads the NFL or is tied for first in several defensive categories.
I mean, they've held teams. I think they held teams to 17 both weeks, and this last week they held them to 10. So, I mean, good defense.
Well, the Baltimore had kind of ran away from them that week.
Yeah.
But here it is. Total yards allowed, they're first in the NFL. Rushing yards allowed first. Passing fourth. Sacks second. QB pressure second. Tackles for a loss first. And rushing TDs allowed second. So, again, we talk about that. That if they can figure out their running game, said Joe Flacco. I mean, I don't have high expectations for the Browns still, but their defense is definitely showing to play, led by Myles Garrett. And like I said, Joe Flacco just seems to keep turning back at least holding back the hands of time.
Yeah.
So.
But we're going to take a quick break here, give an ad read, and then we'll roll into our Week 4 picks. I'd like to give a quick shout-out to one of our first sponsors other than the Backstage Pass, T&J Auto Performance. T&J Auto Performance is a local car builder who shows what it's like to work for himself for 5 years, 21 experience. Pat posts what it's like working on a number of different cars, making real-life raw content about what it's like working and owning your own small business in a small local community. T&J Auto Performance is on Twitter. It's on Facebook. Facebook, some of you older people out there who only use Facebook. They're on TikTok. They're on Instagram. So go give them a check. Go give them a check out if you're into cars or like anything racing-wise. They do drag cars. He's in the process of building a drag car to take down to Tulsa, Oklahoma for some kind of race. I don't remember exactly what he said, but T&J Auto Performance, appreciate him giving us a sponsorship here. We'd really appreciate it if you go check them out. Make sure down in the comments below you say that Twitch and Buck sent you over and we give you a free shout out. But T&J Auto Performance, please go like and follow.
All right, so we're going to get ready to head into this week's picks. So it's been a crazy 3 weeks. Both actually Twitch and Box went 10-6 this week. Actually, we got Twitch has went overall 35-13. And the old Box went 30-18, which, I mean, there's been some crazy games out here. So
Yeah.
Now we're just going to get into what do you think is going to happen this week. So we got Thursday night football. We got the Seahawks going to the Cardinals. So what do you think?
Saw a meme earlier that said this game should be flexed at 3 a.m. So I like the Seahawks in this one getting it done. Obviously, the Cardinals are 2-1, and they're pulling out the rivalry jerseys. So the Cardinals will be sporting their desert tan look. And I don't remember what the Seahawks rivalry jersey looks like, but I just know Arizona's rolling out with the desert tan, which is going to be a sick jersey combo. If you're a Cardinals fan, you probably should look it up. But I like the Seahawks getting it done in this one, going down to State Farm Stadium and beating them. Seahawks have looked good. Sam Darnold's kind of like another Jared Goff. Hey, I'm not going to make mistakes. Gray out.
Yeah,
that'd be
all gray.
That'd be an interesting game. At least it'd be fun to watch on the TV. Might not be an interesting game to tune into, but really I like the Seahawks in this one getting it done. We're moving on to 3-1. Cardinals go 2-2.
Yeah, I also have the Seahawks just because I have them making the playoffs. And over the last 2 weeks, they made a couple of errors against the Niners week 1 at home, but we're driving the ball down the field. And then what I saw last week against the Steelers game and what little bit I watched on Sunday against the Saints. Granted, the Saints were, again, one of those teams that's rebuilding, kind of on a rebuild, trying to figure it out. But they did exactly what they were supposed to. They blew them out early. It was never really a game. The balance between Walker and Darnold and the Seahawks' young defense, I expect them to be able to run the football. That's how San Francisco got the win late last week against Arizona. I just feel like they're gonna make more plays, and they're the better team.
Yeah.
So then we roll out to Dublin, Ireland. We got the Vikes at the Steelers. It's an 8:30 game, so set your alarm clock to get up early.
On NFL Network, so if you subscribe, go out and watch that.
Yeah.
I will not be watching it. I will be sleeping. But
I mean, so there's your team. Steelers getting up
Twitch,
early
you
in the
can lead off
morning.
with this one.
What do you think, Twitch?
Well, I hope I'm wrong. I got roasted pretty good last week, rightfully so. Hopefully they don't steal my fan card, long-time 30-plus year Steeler fan card. I'm actually going 2 weeks in a row against my own team, though.
Shoot!
So I got
Again?
Are you sure you're a Steelers fan?
I got I tried to do it unbiasedly, so I'm a diehard fan for life. But I like Minnesota because I don't obviously expect the Vikings defense to have 2 returns for touchdowns and Pittsburgh to turn the ball over like crazy. So I don't think they'll play. Obviously, that might be the best game of the year for Minnesota's defense. But I expect them to make enough plays. Our offense has really struggled. We've struggled to stop the run. And then on the flip side of that, even Rodgers at his older age, I still think can make more plays than Wentz. But the balance and the fact that there's yet to be a quarterback in my eyes, just from the eye test, that any quarterbacks really felt. Even with T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, they've really felt uncomfortable at all. And so I look at Minnesota. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm not going to be surprised if we do win. I don't mean that as a devil's advocate or cop out, but I feel like this is one of those toss up games.
Hedge bet.
But I do think that Minnesota won't. Obviously, I don't think. Hopefully not. Otherwise, I'm gonna be pissed off about waking up that early to watch the game. But I don't think that they're gonna play like they did against Cincinnati. Ryder's obviously a little bit better and more experienced than Browning. But our offense.
Hit down.
Oh yeah. I think our offense is still trying to figure it out, and Minnesota's defense is still going to play at a really high level, be motivated, and that'll carry over some from last week. And so I think Wentz makes enough plays, not enough pressure, and enough veteran leadership to where I think Minnesota actually gets the W.
Well, I guess I'm going to be, call me a Steelers fan here. I'm taking the Steelers in this one. I think Rodgers and Tomlin going on the road. I mean, it'll cross seas, so who knows what the travel schedule is going to look like, what you mentioned earlier, Twitch. But who knows what it's going to look like. But I like the Steelers getting this one. I like veteran leadership in these situations, getting it done. And I think it will be a better game than what we had slated or what you would think in general. But I like the Vikings, or not the Vikings. I like the Steelers in this one with A-Rod getting it done with his weapons. I mean, obviously last week they had a lot of help from the Patriots, but I like the Steelers getting the dub in this one.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
You're not a Steelers fan.
That's why he fell out of the chair, man.
I know, he fell out of the chair. Mic that up. Well, so our first noon game on Sunday is the Chargers going to the Giants, which is crazy because, I mean, the Giants have been playing some ball.
Yeah,
so
man. Good team.
I don't know. This is going to be a crazy makeup. What do you think, Twitch?
Yeah, I've got the pretty easy pick here. I've got the Chargers remaining undefeated here. Their offense is just, even last week with Denver, hold them to only 13 points midway through the fourth quarter. Justin Herbert is another one of those that's early MVP, in my eyes, early MVP candidate. I think he's got, 6 or 7 touchdowns to 1 pick.
Yeah.
And then just like the Giants, kudos to them. I said losing to all 3 close games, have a chance against the Commanders, against the Chiefs. They kept it close for the most part. And then, of course, losing to Dallas. But I like the Chargers. I believe in Harbaugh. I mean, the only thing I will say about that is, again, we go back. I don't know how much I make too much of it, but like going West Coast for a noon kickoff or 1 o'clock kickoff to an East Coast team. So maybe that's something to watch. But with having a rookie quarterback and the Chargers defense is pretty good, and it seems like, they've got a pretty good 1-2 combo as far as their wide receivers. The Chargers with Keenan Allen being a huge offseason signing and looks like the old Chargers wide receiver that he was before he left to Chicago. And the other young wide receiver, Jackson.
Yeah. And then they have McConkey too.
So, yeah, I like the Chargers to cover here and to beat the Giants, with a rookie quarterback.
I like the Chargers too in this one. I don't see any reason they slow down from their hot streak they've been on. With Harbaugh's getting it done. They have Herbert's, like you said, throwing amazing touchdown passes. Defense has been good, and the Giants starting Jackson Dart this week, rookie quarterback out there for the Giants. So it would be interesting to see how he fares. Scabadoo, however you want to say his last name there. Arizona State product out there leading the team last week against the Chiefs in receiving and rushing yards. Like Junebug said earlier, he's a crown-eating running back. He's just out there running, looking for contact. It doesn't really seem like if he scores or gets a loss of yards, he's going to go out there and run through your face. But I like the Chargers in this one getting it done. I think the Chargers more experienced team. I think we'll see some flashes from Dart with Neighbors, but I still think Chargers get it done with overall just better team across the board.
Well, got another division rival game. The Titans versus the Texans. That's at Texas. So
both 0-3.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy to think that the Texans are 0-3.
Because we thought Texans would be up on top of everything.
Thought we were going to be in AFC West again. Or not AFC West. South
Mm-hmm.
again. But I like... I feel like this could be a trap game for the Texans. Obviously, it's at home. But the Titans have played... Obviously, the Titans haven't looked the best, but Cam Ward, you got to remember, Cam Ward is the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Cam Ward's out there making plays. Right now, 69.2% of the money is on the Texans to win. So who knows if that's an indicator or not. But, I mean, if you look at the quarterback stat lines in this one, C.J. Stroud has almost 100 more yards, but Stroud has more INTs, and Cam Ward has 1 INT with 2 touchdowns throughout the season. So I'm going to take the Titans with the upset in this one. I think the Texans have been struggling, and this might be a wake-up call for them to say, oh, shit, maybe we need to change some stuff around. But I could also be very wrong with this one. But I'm taking the Titans getting the dub in this one.
That's crazy. Let's give them a win.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming either. I said Ward's looked really good in spots this year for sure. I'm shocked that the Texans are sitting at 0-3, and I like for them to get right and C.J. Stroud to play a little bit better this week. And I've got the Texans winning at home. Just a little bit more experience. Houston lost a heartbreaker in week 2. Played a really good Rams team on the road, good defense, and had their chance up until the last drive of the game. So that was one of those games that could have gone either way. So Houston's still done. And even last week, their offense was really struggling against Jacksonville. So that's concerning. But Tennessee's defense isn't as good as Jacksonville's defense. And I just like C.J. Stroud to make a few more plays than that and not making that a costly turnover. And like I said, Houston's I said the same thing about Minnesota. So I've been to Houston before. I said it's a sneaky loud stadium, very passionate. You think, it's Texas, it's the Cowboys. I said, but there's a loyal, huge following of the Texans there. I don't know if I'm making too much out of that, but I like the Texans at home with how they've started to at least turn around this week.
Yeah.
I like the Texans.
Wow. AFC South sucks, is what I heard.
Yep.
So, Saints and Bills, man. Where are we at with that? That's our last noon game. Saints at Bills. I'm assuming I know where this goes.
Yeah, give me the Bills.
Yep.
Heavy favorite.
Saints have not looked terrible.
Bills by 40.
Yeah, I think Spencer Rattler's looked better than people have thought he was going to. Mm-hmm. And I looked up the stats earlier. I can't remember them exactly, but they're not terrible. They're not good. But Spencer Rattler, with some weapons and an offensive line in front of him, might be a good middle-of-the-pack quarterback. Mm-hmm. But it's the Saints. They suck. They're in cap hell. I mean, give me the Bills by whatever you want to give me them by.
I said 40.
Yeah.
Well, we said the same thing last week until Miami had a chance at the end of the game and then to either go up ahead or tie.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I don't see it any other way.
Yeah.
Bills by 40. I think that, Josh Allen, and that was another thing about Buffalo over, the last couple weeks, is I really feel like the same thing, that their offense can be whatever you need them to be. I mean, there was 1 week, like against the Jets, where it's the running game, and then the other 2 weeks it's the passing game and MVP fit. I mean, again, there's another one that just kind of goes without saying with Josh Allen, but him and, one of the best players in the entire NFL and the Saints. Like you said, Spencer Rattler, we talked about it last week, looking a lot better than what people anticipated. Former Red Raider. But at Buffalo, I don't see there's any way. I think and also, again, I don't know how much they're really thinking about that. But the fact that the Bills being 3-0 and knowing that the Chiefs and Ravens are one of those teams, most likely unless they tie, are going to be 1-3, really have a chance to jump on it early. And Buffalo's schedule doesn't really get harder until the middle of the year. So they're stacking up wins, and I think they get it done at home.
So this probably takes us to the game of the week, man. We got the Eagles at the Bucks. This is some crazy stuff right here, man. Everybody's got to love Baker Mayfield at this point.
Yeah.
And we got the Eagles are looking great. So I don't know. I mean, what's your thought, Twitch?
Well, as much as I think everyone's going to be rooting against the Eagles this week, and it's hard to root against Baker Mayfield and the underdog story, and I hope that I'm wrong. Like I said, the last team to beat the Eagles and beat them pretty handily was the Bucks. So 9 out of 10, they have a golden opportunity to play them at home. If it can't, we're thinking way ahead, but have that, potentially late season tiebreaker. They only play each other once a year, depending on how they finish in the division. But I like the Eagles. I think they figure something out the second half. I think they'll be up. They're kind of like the Chiefs game. They'll be ready for this game. They know the Bucks are legitimate, and I think again, that's why it's our game of the week. two really solid teams. Two, in my opinion, especially through the first 3 weeks, top 8 teams in the NFL. And so I really want to pick Tampa Bay because it's at Tampa Bay, but I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I think that Jalen Hurts makes enough plays, and because of the stage, I think Philadelphia gets the win.
I really like that take there, but I am going to root for the underdog. I like the Baker Mayfield X factor. I like a little bit of karma coming back against the Eagles, getting a last-second win last week. I think Baker Mayfield's shown that, hey, you give me a ball with any kind of time left, I'm at least going to give a run at it. Mm-hmm. And with how good their rookie receiver's been, which hard part, Godwin's supposed to maybe be back this week, and who knows what the status of Mike Evans is. But I feel like if Mike Evans could even remotely play, he's going to go out and play because this is a big game for them. But I like the Bucs in this one. It's at Tampa. Obviously, the Eagles are really good, but like you said, the last time the Eagles lost was against Tampa. And Todd Bowles being a defensive coach, I think he's going to come out with a good strategy to hold that rushing attempt and keep him out of third and short or any kind of short yardage situation because obviously that's an instant first down for the Eagles. But I like the Bucs getting it done on this one. And I think the Eagles still go on, make a really deep playoff push, obviously. But I like the Bucs. I think they kind of have their number almost a little bit. And I just like the Baker Mayfield X factor keeps them in the game no matter if they're down 10 with 3 minutes left or who knows what it's going to look like. But it's going to be a good game. I'm really excited to watch this one. This could be
that'll be the noon game I'm watching for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got, now I'm assuming I know where this is going to go, but we got the Browns at the Lions.
Yeah, Browns pull off a crazy win last week. Obviously, beat the Packers. Browns will win some games, but I think the Lions figured out their running game, which we also talked about. The Browns have probably the number one overall defense, but had like the least rushing yards given up, and that's what Detroit proved that they could do last week is run the ball again. So I think this will be a better game than people assume it's going to be. But also, I still like the Lions in this one getting it done. It's up there at the Motor City Kitties up there in Detroit getting it done. Dan Campbell's going to go through it on fourth down anytime he thinks it's a good idea to. So I like Detroit getting it done, even though I think this will be a closer game than people are going to give it credit for.
I agree. 24-21.
Yeah, it's close.
See, I have the Lions winning by 10. I got the Lions winning this one at home, like you said, kind of figuring things out from last year. And I just don't obviously what they're known for is their offense, and their defense showed up yesterday, absolutely. I said, but that's why I don't think Joe Flacco. I think even if Cleveland plays Cleveland-style defense, even Green Bay or Cincinnati, the first week when Cleveland kept it close, that's a divisional game. Divisional games are typically close. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from the Browns' defense, but I don't think through the first 4 weeks coming into this week that they've played, even the Packers, as far as like the number of offensive weapons that Detroit presents. Yeah. On top of they're not going to make the same turnovers that I think Green Bay did. It's at home, and I just like Detroit to have have a better offense. So I'm picking Detroit. I'm a believer that they showed me a lot over the last 2 weeks. Just like I said, even I know that Chicago, Chicago's kind of middle or below the average line in the middle of the pack. I said, but to win the way they won, I said it would have been very easy to, after that first week in that offensive showing, to be like, okay, where are we at this year? And then they wrote it off as one game and right back to the way they've been the last 2 or 3 years. So I like Detroit to take care of business at home.
Well, last noon game, we got the Panthers going to the Patriots. I think I know where this is going to go, but let's start off with you, Box.
Yeah, I think the Patriots get it done in this one. I think Vrabel gets them to fix the turnovers from last week, and the Panthers defense obviously is not as good as the Pittsburgh defense out there. And I think a home game for the Patriots. I think Vrabel's going to have the boys flying around. I mean, hopefully, I feel like this is going to be a game that you won't see any highlights from until it's over, maybe. But I like the Patriots in this one. It's like
same
14-3 game, 7-3 game.
Exciting.
Yeah, exhilarating, you could say.
Well, the game that nobody will be watching, right. For sure.
Especially with
Foxborough or Charlotte.
Yeah.
I too. This is another one we have the same. I have the Patriots. I said they did a lot of nice things on offense the last 2 weeks. I don't anticipate them turning the ball over 4 or 5 times. May seems to be hitting his stride. I like Vrabel to be able to game plan against Bryce Young. So I expect the Patriots defense to show up on top of. Yeah, I think that I think the Patriots, like, I think people don't realize, or doesn't get talked about enough, is the mobility of Drake May too. And so Carolina, kudos to them for pitching a shutout last week. I said, but I like New England to have a little bit better offense this week and be able to game plan against Bryce Young. And being in Foxborough, I like the Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah, I can miss the game out here. We have one more out here. We got the Redskins. I'm gonna call them the Redskins every time.
It's fine.
I mean, I don't give a shit where you're at with your political affiliations. I'm gonna go with the Redskins versus the Dirty Birds. So we got Washington, Falcons. What are your thoughts, man? We've got a lot of stuff going on here with.
Yeah, I think last week Marcus Mariota pulled off a crazy run. Looked like Oregon Marcus Mariota for about 15 seconds there. Mariota proved that he can step in with that offense, even with Scary Terry having his injury, that there's still enough weapons around there that can get the ball around. Their defense is, like I said last week, their defense is still good. Their defense didn't lose any pieces. So I like, and obviously getting blown up by 30, I think the Falcons will come back with a little bit of an edge, maybe, depending on who starts quarterback, who knows. But I like, give me the Commanders in this one.
Redskins.
The Redskins, my bad. But give me them, and I think Dan Quinn gets it done. I think the Falcons got to figure out their quarterback situation before we move forward, or they move forward, I guess.
Yeah, I expect the Falcons to play a lot better game being in Atlanta. Offense last week just didn't show up, and they said when they got behind the 8 ball early in the second half, they were just kind of opened up the floodgates. So I expect Atlanta to keep it a lot more competitive. But I like the Commanders. I saw enough of, like, Marcus Mariota is another one that seems to have enough left, and I like the balance. They have enough offensive weapons and a good defense and are well coached to where I don't think that unless they play elite teams, that Washington's, it's going to be too much for Washington to handle. So I like Washington and the Fighting Mariotas to take care of business on the road this week against the Falcons. So.
Yeah.
That wraps up our noon games. So, I mean, going into 3:05, the first game is Jags at the 49ers.
It's a very interesting game.
Really?
Yeah, because Mac Jones, backup quarterback, played a little bit last year for the Jaguars while Lawrence was dealing with the shoulder injuries. Mac Jones has looked really good. Purdy is back in the questionable to come back and not officially out. And Trevor Lawrence has them at 2-1. Obviously, they haven't played the best teams in the world. They haven't played any world breakers out there. But I think, and the loss of Nick Bosa on that defense is huge for the 49ers because we've seen what happened without the pass rush there. But I feel like this game obviously is not going to be the game that we're going to get in our area because the Chiefs play at this time, so we're going to end up watching the Chiefs. But I like the 49ers in this one. It's, you got a Florida team going all the way out to California playing in Santa Clara. And Mac Jones has shown that he can step in for Brock Purdy and be a guy. And if Brock Purdy does come back, I mean, it's another step up. Obviously, Ricky Purcell's come out, the second-round pick last year, got shot, so he didn't play as much as, or have the biggest impact as he was expected to. But I like the Niners in this one, getting it done against the Jags, who are also like a respectable 2-1 in that AFC South.
Yeah, I expect this to be a lot closer game than what people think. I said, other than the Jaguars' defense giving up a couple late touchdowns to the Bengals, Lawrence has looked pretty good for the better part of 3 games. I know they didn't really show on paper last week, only putting up 17. But again, I think that Texans defense has played actually pretty well. So that being said, I expect it to be close. I want to go with Jaguars, but I'm going to stick with Mac Jones. I mean, I wasn't real impressed with him. I mean, he did just enough last week. But it being 3 o'clock in San Francisco and Shanahan, I think McCaffrey and those guys get enough offense. And like I said, Mac Jones kind of figured it out at the end of last week. And so I like to look for them to build on that momentum. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than what people think. But again, being in San Francisco, I think the Niners get the win. You just don't like the Jaguars don't have a lot of other experience. I know they won a playoff game, whatever that was, 3 years ago, and they have Trevor Lawrence, but a lot of inexperienced guys going to a West Coast game. Because I said I really wanted to pick the Jags for the better quarterback, but I just don't know if Jacksonville will get it done. So I like Shanahan. I like the team of San Francisco being too much for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Well, this is a crazy one for me because we have the Colts at the Rams.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody was talking about the Colts week 1.
Not like this.
But but now here we are. And the Rams are a formidable team too. So I mean I don't know where we're at with that, but man.
It's another good 3:00 game here. The Rams are favored in this one from the magic people who make the betting lines out there.
That's good. That's who I'd take.
And I think Matt Stafford's looked really good. 5 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Danny Dimes has had 3 touchdowns. But I think this game comes down to whose defense can get the most stops in the game. And I like the Rams defense to do this. Well, I think last week they proved a lot to say, hey, we're a team we need to look out for. And as good as the Colts have been in this run so far, having to go out to SoFi, which isn't really a home game, it doesn't seem like, because it seems like it's just a lot of noise all the time. And it doesn't help there's 2 teams that play there and all that other stuff. But I think Matt Stafford gets it done here. I think it's still going to be a good game. I think but last week the Rams showed that, hey, we can stop the run. And that's been a big part of Indiana Jones / Danny Dimes.
I was going to say, so now it's Danny Dimes, not Indiana.
Yeah, I just want to say Danny Dimes because Indiana Jones hasn't really stuck with me yet. But they showed that they can stop the run game of a arguably better run offense with the Eagles. So I think the Rams defense can hold Jonathan Taylor and make Danny Dimes make some of those hard passes down the field to Pittman and Downs, the other receiver, and Warren, who's on my fantasy team, so I hope he has a great week.
No, I like the Rams taking care of business at home too. I said they're 2 blocked field goals away from being 3-0 and beating the Eagles, and then they were up by 19 last week. I said so. I'm a believer in that defense, and they're still, again, Devontae Adams becoming more incorporated in the offense, and Puka still being a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. I think there's just too many weapons, and I am a believer in the Colts. Through the first 3 weeks, they're one of the feel-good stories. I like Daniel Jones, but I just feel like the Rams are on the short list of true NFC contenders in my mind. That's what they proved last week, and I like them to take care of business at home.
Hell, give me the Colts.
You got the Colts?
You like the Colts?
Yeah, screw Twitch and Box, man. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to go with the Colts.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it's a winnable game.
Jonathan Taylor's going to get out there and get it done. I mean, okay, but that's all right. 325. I mean, this is where my love is at. Got the Ravens at Kansas City. This is the one that's most passionate in my heart. Hope Kansas City gets it done. What's your take on this, Twitch?
Well, I said, it was nice, like you mentioned, it was nice to see Kansas City get off the schneid last week, and big game for either team for what we thought at the beginning of the year might be like and it still could be, but a tiebreaker scenario. 2 teams that we saw as the top 5 or 6 in the NFL, and now they're sitting there at 1 and 2. So one of these teams is going to be 1 and 3. So again, big win for the Chiefs last week. It would be huge if they get the win this week, just for the fact of, okay, now you have a quality opponent, and that could kind of make things right, and then keep pace with, both of us have the Chargers winning. That being said, I'm going with the Ravens. So
No.
I still think I still think the Chiefs will make the playoffs and they'll be fine. But I think it's just we talked about the brutal schedule, and like I said, the Ravens are a couple plays away from being 3-0 themselves. And yes, Kansas City's defense has played better the last 2 weeks, even against Philadelphia. But I don't see consistent pressure, and their third down defense has kind of struggled. And I don't see Derrick Henry fumbling again. And Baltimore traditionally plays them close. Obviously, the Chiefs have kind of had Lamar Jackson's number, and Spags I expect to contain Jackson for the most part. This is going to be another one. I think it's like the Eagles game, and this very, very easily could have been the game of the week, but it'll be a 24-21 type game. But I like Baltimore late being able to grind out the clock, and Kansas City not. And again, kudos to Thornton and Kelsey the last couple of weeks. trying to step up for that offense, but I trust the Baltimore offense more than I do the Kansas City offense. And yeah, I'm sorry, KC. Like KC is my second favorite team. I think KC will be fine. I love KC, but
I just want to point out real quick that when we did our first podcast, Twitch had Kansas City winning the division, and now he's predicting them to be 1-3.
yeah.
And they're still going to get back in there and win the division?
I still think they have a shot at the division, but I don't know about winning the division. I still think they'll still make the playoffs. I just do. I just trust Andy Reid and Mahomes, even with that gauntlet.
Yeah,
at some point
you're predicting them to go 1-3.
Yeah.
And the box has said from day one, it's all Broncos. This is Broncos territory. And Broncos, I mean, they've had some struggles here.
We're also 1-2 guys. Like,
yeah. So
Right.
I mean,
Right.
nobody picked the Chargers. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
Right.
it's all right. Next week,
everybody better get on the
yeah.
effing Chiefs bandwagon here.
Next
And then
week. Next week, we're going to give our Week 4 MVP, Offensive Player, Defense Player of the Week, and then we're gonna give our who we think makes the playoffs in Week 4. So we're gonna see.
Updated.
Yeah, do a
Yeah.
quick
So, I mean,
quick
but-
update and see.
But
who
you
we
both
have.
had the Chiefs in the playoffs, and you're saying Chiefs are going to lose. So
Yeah,
what about-
I still think.
Oh my gosh!
I also have the Ravens beating KC
Oh
in this
my
one.
God.
I think, like we talked about earlier,
No.
you can't have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes lead the team in rushing yards and expect to beat a good team like the Ravens in this one. So I like,
Wow.
I like the Ravens in this one. I think Mahomes makes it interesting, obviously, because Mahomes is out there running for his life. It seems like in these games, but without their top two weapons, or top two receivers at least, with not counting Kelsey in that, like they're missing those two guys. I think the Ravens get it done. I think Derrick Henry, like you talked about, fumbled 3 times in 3 games. Like I think Derrick Henry's going to come in and say, you know what, this is my game to come in. America's going to be watching. I'm guessing it's the Fox game of the week. So it's just I like the Ravens.
NBC.
No,
Yes, the two
no
AFC
way.
teams.
Junebug,
Oh, yeah,
please
so-
give some love to the Chiefs here, man. I can't be the only one thinking the Chiefs are going to win this game.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game. If we can't get offense or our run game rolling, we're
Sounds like
Well,
Junebug
they said-
betting on the right.
no. I'll always take my team no matter what.
They're plus 130 right now, so you make.
So what's it going to take for
Yeah.
the Chiefs to win this game?
Honestly, if we get Travis Kelsey rolling more, a little bit, Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, honestly, probably is going to be the savior, I think, on this game.
I think Kareem could have a good game.
I think he will.
You know what? We talked a little bit about Kelsey in that game against the Eagles. He fumbled that ball that got picked off on the one. And, my take on that play was give him some grace. Kelsey's still the go-to guy in those situations. And he came back last week, I thought, and played a great game. But I think they figured it out. I take the Chiefs all day in this game. I mean, this is the game that you have to set the pace for. We have to start winning some games.
Yeah.
I got to ask this real quick, and we talked about it before the podcast, but who do you think this game means more for or to? Like, who needs the win more, Baltimore or Kansas City?
I think it's Kansas City.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
playoff sake.
I think it's Kansas City because they like the gauntlet we talked about they have coming up. Like this is, in the words of my pops, this is nut cutting time. This is either you're about it or you're not about it. This is I'm not saying this is a week 4 Super Bowl game. This is a week 4. Hey, if we don't win this game, this could be really, really bad, really, really fast.
Yeah.
Or this is hey, we beat a good team. Let's start rolling. We're figuring our identity out.
And that's going to be the conversation for the next month for the Chiefs. They've got tough games ahead of them. And I think that they know how to get it done. They got the coach that can put the play calls in there. They got the quarterback that can execute the plays. They have some key players. Man, I would love to have some of our players back in the system.
Yeah, like
I don't know
once
where. I don't
Worthy
even know where
last
Worthy is even at.
They
in this
talked like him
conversation.
playing last week, but he didn't. But
Yeah, he
I
didn't.
I don't know what their talk is yet of him this week, but
And Rice should be back in there in a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
So I mean,
2 more.
we've got some things that are come back in there, and we need it. We absolutely need it. We beat a mediocre Giants,
But it
we-
still falls into, getting Worthy and Rice back, you still got teams that are going to shut down that passing game.
Yeah.
So you got. I mean, I'm not always going to fall back on the rushing. Run game.
I'm gonna say screw Twitch in the box. I'm gonna take the Chiefs on this one because it's a must-win game for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this is where they get it done. They got some big old primetime games coming on.
You think it's a bigger game for Kansas City though, too, to win? More
I
important.
absolutely think it's a
Yeah.
big game for Kansas. It's the bigger game for Kansas City.
Yeah.
Baltimore. I mean, they've got stuff that they need to set out there and prove, but not as much as Kansas City. Kansas City's got to
agree.
they got to get a win. They got to get a win. They got to get back to 2-2.
Right.
They got to get some home games under their belt after that.
Yeah.
That establishes where they're at in the division. Because the Chargers, man, we weren't talking about this, but the Chargers came out there and got the first 3. And so there's a lot of conversations that we didn't have about where the Chargers are at. That they've definitely stepped up to the challenge. They are the team to beat at this point in that race, but it's a long race.
It's a marathon.
And
That's
and
week
I
4.
think,
I mean,
Yeah.
and I think Kansas City will come in there and get it done. But if they drop this one, Kansas City's got some. They got some
I
questions.
still don't think the sky's falling even if they do lose this one.
You think they're going to be still okay at 1-3?
Yes, because even when they start getting those players back, and then
And they get Rice and
I
Wentz
trust
back.
that Mahomes and Reed throughout the course of the season, they've had other gauntlet schedules before since Mahomes been there, and same thing. It was kind of like Mahomes and Michael Jordan. It's just like nobody else has eaten under Mahomes' watch. No, he's been completely dominant, and so like I know the Chiefs haven't been the last year and a half the Chiefs that they were before, but I still trust Mahomes to get done. So even if they start off 4-5, I think at some point in the season it's inevitable. They're going to have a 4 or 5 game win streak. I think they'll figure it out eventually. I do think this is a bigger game for the Chiefs. One because of that schedule that we keep bringing up. 2 because the Charger team that you just talked about that I want to say was 3-0. We have them probably most likely beating a rookie quarterback, being 4-0. They play again. Obviously, they play one more time this year, but through the first, this will be 4 weeks. If Kansas City were to lose this game, and the Chargers having that early season tiebreaker, said you're 4 games into the season, 4 games back. So whereas I feel like the Ravens could lose this game and be 1-3, and again, I'm just being real. So I love my team to death, but I feel like Pittsburgh, the ceiling is going to be a 9-8, 10-7.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati. Sorry, Finn. I don't see them even having a winning record or being competitive, and the Browns.
Yeah.
So I feel like Baltimore can lose this game and still will be the favorites for the division. And that's the same thing. No matter who wins this game, you look at the Chiefs. If they lose, their 3 losses are against, would be against the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Chargers. If the Ravens lose, their 3 losses are the Bills, the Lions, and the Chiefs. So that's another reason why I think it's just so happens to be the NFL schedule makers wanting those primetime games, kind of like in college football back in the day. You'd have like a 1-2 early in the season, and so that's why I say, Greg, is regardless of who loses, I don't think the sky's falling. It's going to look bad. Everyone's going to go, they're 1-3, they're going to maybe miss it. But I feel like both of these teams are still going to be 2 of the 7 teams representing the AFC.
Yeah.
But I do think this game means a lot more to Kansas City because especially if they're wanting to stay in the AFC West divisional race. I said I feel like this is going to be a must. And by that point too, I said we anticipate the Chargers again winning, and so and the Ravens Chiefs being a 3:00 game. I expect the Chargers to be sitting there at 4-0 already, and the Chiefs already knowing that. So big game this week. I'm interested to see.
Yep.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and November 27th, we got the Cowboys. We'll see what that is. Texans 0-3. We got them on December 7th. That rematch of the Chargers game on the 14th of December. I mean, obviously we're going to demolish the Titans on the 21st. But then we have that Broncos game on Christmas, which I think is going to be a meaningful game in the AFC West. And then right after that, January 4th, we get the Raiders. So, I mean, who knows what the Raiders are going to be doing. But we got a lot of meaningful football out there for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I feel like they have to get this done this week. They have to get back to 2-2, get to 500, and then figure out a game plan of what they want to do moving forward.
Especially if they want to reestablish themselves as one of those true contenders. But
So yeah, that's crazy. So all right, so next 3:25 game. Bears and Raiders. I don't know.
I got
Pretty even right there.
Me and Twitch talked about this yesterday through text, but been awfully hard on Caleb Williams. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's played some good games. Obviously, that one game, there's a week 2 game, got away from him, really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But Caleb Williams is still an athlete. He's still making plays. He's still number 2 on the team in rushing yards with almost 100.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're still out there making plays, and that defense coming out and playing good across the board. Obviously you lose the Lions, but then they shut down the Cowboys, which is without CD, obviously, and then lose a close game to the Vikings week 1. So, I like the Bears in this one getting it done, just purely out of I don't like the Raiders. It's a terrible take, but yeah, they're in Las Vegas, but I like the Bears. I think the Bears showed something last week, and I think maybe they proved it to themselves a little bit. Oh, shit, we can play with these guys who have number 1 wide receivers, and the Raiders don't have a number 1 wide receiver. They have Genty, which they've been struggling, so I like the Bears in this one.
All right.
The Bears.
Yeah, same here. I have the Bears taking care of business at the Raiders. Just because, like you said, they kind of fly under the radar. And with Caleb Johnson, who knows? But Caleb Williams has had moments in all 3 games where he's looked pretty good. My biggest thing with Caleb is not the fact where I think he has all the physical tools, but I just was one of those guys I wasn't a believer because he was coming from whatever it was, an 8-4, 8-5 USC team.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. And then kind of I don't know too much to make of it, but kind of the prima donna attitude coming into the draft. But I think that, the Raiders we kind of expected to be around that 7-10 range. And Pete Carroll, the Raiders need to figure out a run game. I said because I know that they have a rookie running back. I said, but I'm a believer in Genty.
Yeah.
And so they need to get figured out on offense. Their defense has played pretty well. I know they gave up 41 last week. I said, but they were giving up short fields and trying to be aggressive. But I like the Raiders to keep it close, especially because the Bears aren't an elite team and it's in Vegas. But I like Chicago being competitive for the better part of 2.5 games, and I like Caleb Williams making more plays. Geno Smith still obviously a serviceable starter, but I like Chicago knowing they need this game. I like Chicago to take big care of business on the road.
Crazy. So now we move into Sunday night football. This could be another game of the week, man. It's the Packers at the Cowboys.
I think this game, obviously, last week what happened to the Cowboys against the Bears, I think the Cowboys come out fired up, but I think the Packers come out even more fired up the way they lost there, losing to the Browns. And obviously, this is a Micah homecoming game, coming into Jerry World. And on primetime game, he knows that everybody's going to be watching. All the Cowboys fans are going to be watching. All of his haters are going to be watching. I think that I like Green Bay in this one. And without CD Lamb, I think that Dallas offense is going to sputter. Obviously, the tight end I talked about earlier is going to be good. Yeah. And then Pickens, I think, will take a bigger step this week. But Green Bay, obviously, we had them as a really good team losing to the Browns. That happens, it's NFL. There's parity everywhere. Every team is good. You just got to be ready for it. But I think Green Bay has Dallas circled on this one to say, hey, this is our chance to put ourselves on the national map across the board. So I like Green Bay in this one, getting it done. It's a struggling Dallas team.
I like Green Bay in this one. I think last week was just Cleveland does have a defensive game. It's almost like a trap game. And Dallas is kind of, seriously, all 3 weeks Dallas is kind of they played pretty good against Philadelphia week 1. I said, but, they don't have the defense, I feel like. And then Green Bay, I feel like, just had an off week last week. They'll want to make it right. Through the first 2 weeks up until last week, I would say Green Bay was one of those top 5 teams we'd seen by the eye test through the first 2 weeks. And like you said, you're going to have a pissed-off Micah Parsons. I'm going to call it again this week. I think Micah Parsons gets another sack this week. But I think the balance of Green Bay and the lack of pressure by Dallas, I just feel like that Green Bay is going to be too much. And like you kind of hinted already, my biggest thing, and I've got CD in my fantasy team, but I think that loss is going to hurt them a lot more than what people think. So I'm with you. I think that Pickens has the potential to be a true number 1 wide receiver, and he'll step up and make some plays this week now that they'll have a whole week to plan around him. and it's prime time. It's in Dallas, so one of the NFL's best and oldest rivalries, like the history and the games that the Packers and Cowboys going back to the 60s and 70s and the 90s, and even Aaron Rodgers and playing each other, the Dez catch, not catch, 3 times in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the Packers, for whatever reason, typically seem to have the Cowboys' number, and I think the Packers are the better team. I think last week was, and even so, like I know Cleveland isn't known for being an offensive team, but they block a kick and get the ball at midfield, and then they make a couple first downs for Cleveland to win. So Green Bay's defense didn't play terrible last week either. So with that being said, one of the better defensive units. I think they shut down Dak for the most part, and Jordan Love makes enough plays. And Dallas has also had a hard time stopping the run, and so I expect a decent good game from Josh Jacobs. And so I've got Green Bay winning at home and get back on the winning track.
Yep.
All right, so doubleheader on Monday Night Football. We got the Jets at the Dolphins, and then the Bengals at the Broncos. So then you're going to get a weigh-in on this second game. But let's look at that Jets and Dolphins game. I don't know.
Yeah, both teams are 0-3. Thank goodness
Yeah.
it's a doubleheader. I'm not saying the other game's
Toilet
going to be
bowl.
any better.
Right.
7th grade team playing the 8th grade team.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Jets in this one. I think the Jets would stay competitive. Fields coming out of protocol this week, like he's going to be in protocol to be able to play. And the Dolphins offense has given me nothing to be like, oh, hey, maybe the Dolphins are back. I mean, obviously, they played the Bills last week, a division game, so it's close. Like we talk about, division games are close. But I like the Jets getting it done in this one. Even though it's in Miami, but it's Monday night. If Tyrod Taylor starts again, he proved that he can make games interesting. He's a solid quarterback to come back. So I just like.
I've got Waddle on my bench, so that
I
tells
like
you where
Jets.
I'm at. So, go Jets.
Go Jets, I guess. Man.
Jets.
Well,
Division game again here. So.
Well, and he said New York kind of like Chicago for the better half of 2.5 weeks have played pretty well, a lot better than what people thought. Dolphins haven't really shown a lot to be excited about. So, but them playing competitive against Buffalo, and part of that could be because it's a divisional game. But Miami had their chances against the Patriots as well. And so I don't expect Miami to do a whole lot this year, but in a divisional game and two teams that the record speaks for yourself, like I guess Bill Parcells that said no matter who you play, it's like you are what your record says you are. So 2-0-3 teams. But I like the Dolphins to, again, not necessarily be back, I said, but they're not obviously doing near as good as what we thought they would be, or at least more competitive. And I expect them to get some of the stench off. And I do think that McDaniels is a good offensive mind, and I won't be surprised if the Jets win because they have played pretty well, and especially if Fields comes back. But I'm going to take Miami in this one, so that's the fourth game we have different this week. I like for Miami to get their first win at home.
That seems to be about the average as we pick about 4 games that we have different.
Well, late night game. Finn, hope you weigh in on this. Man, we got the Bengals at the Broncos for the late game.
Bengals.
Bengals.
I like
Just because he goes against the Chiefs.
It's just, I like, obviously, this game before the season, I would be a lot more concerned because of what Joe Burrow brings to that team and that explosive offense. But I think the Broncos get it done, but I think it's because this is not, the Broncos defense they have a good run defense. This is not a game to try to get your run offense restarted again against a good Broncos defensive line and linebackers who are hit or miss. Hopefully it's a hit this week on a Monday night game. And also, with all the turnovers they had last week, I think the Broncos hopefully can offense. This is a game to, they still have a good pass rush and they have decent picks on both sides or decent secondary pieces. But hopefully the Broncos offense can roll a little bit here. We can get the run game established early, and then we can find Mims and Sutton and Vele. Not that we traded Vele, but like our other guys involved in the game, and maybe Ingram, maybe catches more than 3 passes.
Yeah, we need to get Bo Nix in a rhythm.
Yeah, offense needs to find their identity and what they need to be. That's not screen passes on 3rd and long, and I think
Dobbins had a good week last
Dobbins
week.
had 86 yards rushing and a touchdown. So I think Dobbins takes maybe not another step, but at least puts up the same performance and coming out and playing good. And the Bengals, obviously, they struggled last week. with the run game. And like I said, Broncos run defense, I have faith in them being able to shut down that run game and making the backup throw at Patrick Surtain or throw at Riley Moss and Huff and throw at that secondary who's respectably, supposed to be a top 5 secondary in the league, which we've had a couple hiccups, but I have faith in our guys to get this job done.
All right,
Win a
Twitch.
primetime game.
Well, see, I think this will be one of those games. I'm sorry, buddy. It's nothing personal. But I think this is going to be one of those games that's not close. I mean, for a number of reasons, Denver's another one of those places that traditionally has always been super tough to play. They've still got one of the top defenses. You look at the last 2 weeks on how Denver lost. Daniel Jones making a couple dime throws. The touchdown to tie it at 20 last week where Herbert's rolling to the left and off one back foot throws it.
Yeah.
I don't see Jake Browning doing that. So I don't, and no run game for Cincinnati. That just spells trouble, making them one-dimensional against that defense. Like you said, the players that you mentioned, I just think of Huff as like a modern-day Polamalu Jr.
Yeah.
So I just think, and the thing about for Denver, obviously, besides the penalties, is going to be, you look at the first half of both of those games. Like Bo Nix started out really great against the Chargers, started out really great against the Colts. They just haven't put a complete game together, and I expect Sean Payton to correct that against a porous defense, for lack of a better word. And so I like Denver for this to be kind of a tune-up game at home. Should take care of business. Denver was one team we both picked to go to the playoffs. Different record, different way of getting there.
Yeah, but still.
But I think you said it might be a lot different. I'd probably pick Cincinnati only if Joe Burrow was playing, but he's not. Yeah. So I think Denver wins fairly handily this week. So, and what do you think, Finn?
I'm gonna have to win this one because
taking a card out of your dad's playbook there and picking against your team.
Because with how bad their defense is, and the Broncos defense is one of the top, and Bo Nix, which is not a backup, they can just get
This is not a backup.
Not a backup.
It's a solid reason.
So you're taking the Broncos with this one? Oh.
I will say, it's got to be pointed out, we pointed out last week, as far as winning percentages, Finn got to pick
100%.
2 weeks ago, went 3 for 3. So any other games you want to weigh in for our sports bettors to take to their bookies this weekend? Any other games you want to weigh on? Pick out a couple.
He's got some notes
Yeah,
there.
he's got a bunch of notes.
with the Panthers Patriots. I'm actually gonna take the Panthers.
Okay.
What do you think my pick?
No.
But May can also hit his wide receivers.
Yeah.
And with the Panthers winning 30-0, and they got better from last season. So
Yeah. Who do you got versus the Ravens versus Chiefs?
Chiefs.
You got the Chiefs.
Oh.
Oh.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Steelers, Vikes.
I'm gonna take the Vikings
Okay.
because
Just ruin your dad.
I know.
Aaron Rodgers sucks first. And then why would they even trade George Pickens?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we talked about that.
And
Yeah,
then
two wide receiver
with
ones.
their defense just not putting it together.
Okay,
So I take the Vikings.
couple more than that, so I know we got to go soon. What about the big game of the week? Our game of the week, Eagles Bucks. Who do you got, Finn?
I'm actually just gonna take the Eagles because they're a team that beat the Chiefs. They can beat hard teams, and Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, they can just
Defending Super Bowl champs. Okay.
All right. Well, every other week, we got Finn out here putting out his picks, and that's always a great take. If you can't pick better games than a 9-year-old, then you should probably stay off of FanDuel
Yeah.
and
DraftKings or whatever else is on there.
I will say biasly that 9 years old is that I can sit there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. He likes to play the name an NFL player game. This was a year or two ago. And we'll sit there. I might have to feed him one every once in a while after like 20, 30 minutes. But he's naming people like Ronnie Lott or Mean Joe Green or Lawrence Taylor. So he knows his football a little bit. So
I will throw this out there as a shout out. One of the reasons why we started this podcast is that back when, right before the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes, I was having a conversation with my nephew Twitch, and he said, "Hey, I'm a diehard Steelers fan, but if I'm the Chiefs, I trade up in the draft and I go after this guy named Patrick Mahomes." I went, I didn't even know who Patrick Mahomes was, but he said you could build a dynasty around this guy, and that could be the salvation of the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I screenshotted this conversation because it was literally a month before the draft, and that's what we did. We traded up, we got Patrick Mahomes, and then Kansas City fans have just gone nuts over this decision. And I thought, hey man, if you can see that coming, I mean, we always have this joke about in Veach we trust, like in God we trust. In Veach we trust to go out there and grab your players and make decisions to make the Chiefs a better team. But Chris saw it before anybody else did, or Twitch. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I mean that's just crazy. That this is what makes this podcast to me. Let's put a shout out to Twitch. You might have Tourette's.
I'm still waiting for. I don't even give a shit if it's a replica, like $75 ring. I'm still waiting at least for one ring.
He wants one
That's
Super
one
Bowl
ring.
ring that said, "I called
One
this."
ring.
I called this out before Brett Veach did.
Right.
And there's documents. There's literally text
Documentation.
message, timestamps, docs. It's on my X account, man. So so it's great. So
Appreciate the shout out.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up here. Appreciate everybody listening this week. Hope everybody has a great week in their betting worlds and in actual worlds, like your world outside of football. Care about you there too. But we appreciate everybody
No, we
listening. Appreciate
Hope
Junebug
your
for
wife's cheating on you.
appreciate Junebug for coming out and giving some Chiefs takes here. Just listening in. Appreciate Finn coming out and giving us his Bengals expert takes here. Obviously appreciate Elvis V for hosting us here and feeding us every Tuesday night here. And appreciate Twitch, my co-host, coming out, always being prepared, always having some good takes, some stuff that I'm like, I didn't even think of it that way at all, which is nice to have across the board.
So next week I'm gonna be in Chanute, so we might have to do this from the Cannon compound. So we might have to go back and get another Raiders tape next
Yeah.
week.
Shannon would join the podcast last week. For those who keep listening, which again, thank you for those who have reached out to me and have been following it consistently every week. So we really do appreciate that. But yeah, maybe next week from what'd you call it? Shannon's what?
The Shannon Cannon compound.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cannon compound.
Okay.
So right here in LSV.
LSV.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, appreciate everybody. Any last words anybody has to throw in here? Any life advice? Junebug, you seem like you got plenty of life advice to go around.
Shout out to your business.
Yeah.
The glass company. I mean, who do you work for, Junebug?
Wilson Glass.
Shout out to Wilson Glass.
Yeah, what do you do at Wilson Glass over there, Junebug?
Just commercial installer.
Commercial installer.
Nothing fancy.
Hit them up for all of your glass needs.
Yeah.
Yep. Drop it in the comments, and LSV will send you his phone number directly on YouTube, so everybody knows it. But appreciate everybody listening this week. Hope everybody has a great week. Hope all your bets hit, and thank you for listening, and stay tuned.